So I was thinking to start the interview, maybe you could tell me a little bit about yourself, but also about the concept of Fabscrab and what you guys do. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fabscrab is a textile recycling nonprofit. We pick up fabric from companies that they're discarding in the city. So anything from small scraps to rolls and yards of fabric. And that fabric is sorted for reuse or recycling. So
Mm.
it's either large enough to be reused by someone else, which is, of course, the best way that that can have another life, another loop in its life cycle.
Hmm.
And we also pick up smaller scraps of fabric, things that are really too small to be reused, and
Mm.
those are recycled. They're shredded down and made into industrial felt, which is used for housing insulation and carpet padding. So Fabscrab was founded by Jessica Schreiber. She worked for the Department of Sanitation, and so her background is in waste management. And companies were contacting her with the problem of their waste. And so she founded Fabscrap as a solution for that material that was formerly
Mm.
being discarded.
Mm. And so the people, so basically everyone can buy from Fabscrab, right? So also private persons can come to you. You just recently opened a new store, right? In
Did opened
Oh
a
wow,
retail location. So we
congratulations.
work for a couple different groups of people. We're a resource for brands or designers or people who are generating waste. So
Yeah.
people who have, or people or companies who have scraps or textile waste that they want to be diverted from landfill. And we're also a resource for people who are looking to purchase fabric.
Mm.
Designers or crafters. We serve a lot of students in New
Mm.
York because
Mm.
there are some of the design programs here, the type of fabric we have, and the quantities we have
Mm.
are really great for student projects. But we're also working with some small designers who are sourcing fabric for collections from us
Mm.
to make smaller collections, and that is really exciting that we're able to be a resource for that fabric to be reused through new designers and
Yeah.
make that a
Yeah.
fully circular process.
Yeah. Great. So I think what is really interesting for me actually is because so far I've talked to people who are more on the production or the design side of fashion, and which is more the starting point of the product. And you are right now on the end point of a fabric, but you're
Yeah.
trying to make it go back into a cycle. So my first question, and I think your perspective is very interesting on that. Um, I know it's a complex topic, but so let's say, what is your first thought when you want to define sustainability in fashion or the fashion industry? Like, what does it mean to you, sustainability in the fashion industry?
So I think in order to move towards a more sustainable fashion industry, there needs to be more transparency.
Yeah.
So throughout the supply chain of the construction and production of a garment, there needs to be more transparency. Currently, brands don't know a lot about what they are producing and how it is produced. And so
Mm.
consumers also don't know a lot about the process of making a garment. So to allow information to be given or received about how a product is being made and how it's being manufactured really is like the biggest first step
Mm.
in being able to then make those supply chains more sustainable.
Mm.
And once a brand understands, once they understand their own supply chain, then they can be more transparent to individuals.
Yeah.
So I think that's really the biggest.
Yeah. Yeah. And so since the debate around sustainable fashion is, I think, increased a lot throughout the last couple of years, which is great, but still, I think, compared to the dominance of the topic in the media and everything, somehow the progress isn't that big. So my question would be, what do you think? What aspect is missing in the current debate? To like, I mean, there must be missing something to make the progress. So, what, in your perspective, is missing in the debate around sustainable fashion?
Um, I think I think that something that I noticed, I don't know if this is the biggest thing that is missing, but
Yeah.
something that I noticed is that there is a lot of criticism of companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what we might need a little bit more of is encouragement of brands, that rather than negative criticism of the steps that they're making. I think that part of the sustainable fashion realm can be more encouraging of some brands that really are making steps
Mm-hmm.
towards more sustainability, because those processes are really long and complicated, especially for large brands.
Mm-hmm.
And that rewarding those brands who are making strides towards more transparency or more sustainable choices
Mm-hmm.
is a way to encourage more companies to be more transparent about their supply chains and to be more engaged in the conversation about creating more sustainable products.
Okay, that's interesting. And are you talking right now more about like smaller brands or bigger companies, like, or just all of them?
More about bigger companies. So something that we see oftentimes at Fabscrab, we allow brands to be featured on our website if they are willing to be. We allow brands to be featured on our website who are working with us, and that's a decision that they make. Whether or not we can be transparent about the fact that we work with them, and many large companies choose not to be public about the fact that they recycle with us, and oftentimes it seems that they don't want to be public about the fact that they recycle with us because they don't want to invite questions from consumers that they may not be able to answer yet. So by talking about their sustainable journey in any way, they are inviting people to ask deeper questions that they may not be able to answer yet, but are working towards.
Oh, that's interesting. So what kind of questions are they afraid of? Like, why are you actually producing too much fabric at all, or like what kind of questions do you mean, or if consumers go more deeply into the topic of sustainability in general, or is it more about the cooperation with you guys? You know what I mean?
It's about sustainability in general is what they are concerned about. So if they say that they are being sustainable by recycling their office waste through Fabscrab, that might invite questions about other parts of their supply chain that they're not able or willing to talk about yet.
Yeah. Oh, that is really interesting.
They say, well, why aren't you using more organic cotton? And they may not have a good answer for that. And so rather than inviting any conversation about sustainability, they are withholding speaking about that topic at all.
Yeah. Oh, but that is an interesting point, actually. And yeah, I also think since it's almost impossible nowadays to be a completely sustainable brand, especially also it is just like, I think it's impossible today. So the steps towards sustainability should be definitely encouraged and appreciated, for sure.
And sustainability means so many different things.
Yeah.
So it can be certain material choices or certain practices, but what we see at Fabscrab is that there's certain materials that we're not able to recycle, but there are lots of different ways. Sorry, I'll start again with that. There are different material choices you can make that have different impacts. So by choosing 100% natural fabric, so like 100% cotton, that has the potential to be recycled back into new cotton material. But those technologies are still developing. And so that may not happen yet. And a brand may instead choose to make something that is partially out of recycled plastic bottles and partially out of a natural fabric in order to maybe extend that garment's life cycle longer. So it's a different choice that they're making. And as long as that choice is intentional, we could call it sustainable because they're using, a recycled material, even if that may not be able to be, that garment or product may not be able to be recycled at a higher value because it's a limited material. But it might last longer. So there are a lot of different choices that can be made to be sustainable. Those choices have different impacts depending on the product and the technology available.
Yeah, that's also definitely the challenge that I noticed for like when I design things. it's so hard to make the right decision because I think the one right decision is not there. Like there is no such thing as the one right decision and the one right way to go about it. So that's also that involves the whole idea of looking at sustainability as a practice because to me it is more so not to call something sustainable, but to constantly question the process. Like, okay, what am I using? Why am I using it? What is the turnout? What could be another option? I think this act of questioning is already a sustainable act, but it is so
Right.
hard to make that visible, for people from the outside, so they can say, oh, it's a sustainable decision or not. Like it's the constant questioning and it's a constant process of learning. So yeah, it is complex. I agree for sure. Um, so I think maybe you have already answered the next question that I was about to ask. Well, you can tell me if that is the case. The next question would have been, if we consider the complexity of the topic, what, in your opinion, would be the first step to change or to shift things? My guess would be that you said transparency is the very first step to make things more obvious and also to let people know about the process of sustainable change, right? Or would you have another idea about that, another thought in mind?
No, you're correct. I think
Yeah.
that the first step is for brands to review their supply chains and how they are producing a garment so that they understand the problem that they are trying to tackle by making their product more sustainable,
Mm.
and so that they can be more transparent about that
Mm.
process to the customers that they are serving through those products or services.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a question about of vulnerability, right? Like as soon as a brand is making something transparent, like they become vulnerable. But so I understand the
Yeah,
fear for about the step, but yeah. So and then to my last
that was the
question,
biggest and fastest way to make change.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And then to my last question, do you think, because I mean, with my project, I'm pretty much addressing, since I'm living in a Western country, and also I'm surrounded with people from cities and in urban spaces and everything. So I'm pretty much talking to the consumer side, and sometimes I get kind of caught up with the question, do consumers actually do have the power to change things, or does it need to happen on another level, like governmental or on the company side? So my last question would be, do you think that consumers actually do have the power to drive change within the fashion industry?
I do think that we have the power to drive change, and I think that consumers should feel empowered by the fact that they have power.
Mm.
I think that consumers have power in what they purchase, but even in changing sustainable fashion through policy or through government, consumers are electing officials in Western countries to make those changes, and so we have the power in a democracy to make change by electing people who will make change for us
Mm-hmm.
on a larger scale.
Okay.
So I think that consumers should think of themselves as empowered because that will help to drive change and continue to make consumers engaged in order to drive brands to be more engaged
Yeah. Yeah.
on sustainability.
Yeah. So, and consumers have to know what they're talking about and what they buy, and also educate themselves a little bit. I think there's also some sort of responsibility because since we all consume, I think it's sometimes devastating to see um, that there is no such thing as awareness about, or about the practice of consuming. I think there definitely is a responsibility, but maybe I also think it's a question of education. Like in schools, it should be taught more
Right.
about
So
how to consume, what does it mean, um, the consequences and everything. But
one of our roles is speaking with students. So one of the big things that we do, one of the most important pieces of what we do, is speaking with students who are at high school level and also university level in New York City about textile
okay.
waste, so that they understand the problem, especially budding designers, when they see our process and the system that they are entering into, they have that awareness from the very start of the problem and can begin to make shifts towards more sustainable choices in their careers from the very beginning.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That was super interesting. And thank you so much for your time. I know you had a busy day, especially with the new store and the opening and everything. So are you planning even more stores? It is the second now, right? In New York City?
This is, yes. So we have a warehouse location, and then this is just going to be a retail location. So just selling fabric.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll be able to provide more material to people who are looking for sustainable fabric.
Yeah.
Saved from landfill. And then we are hoping to expand to other cities in the U.S. To be able to serve more communities.
Yeah. Okay, great. So good luck with everything, and I'm going to send you the link to the platform as soon as it's finished. I'm pretty excited. So
congratulations on finishing up your thesis.
Yeah.
Luck.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's the last 4 weeks, so that's going to be tough. But I'm super excited about the project, especially since it's something I'm really trying to continue after I graduated. You know, it's really like my heart project. I don't know if you say it like that in English, but it is my heart project. It also gives me the chance to talk with people that I think are interesting, or companies, you know, like Fabscrab. So I'm like, okay, I just want to talk to these people, and maybe they agree and just have a chat with me. So that's the best part about it. Okay, cool. So have a good day. Good rest of the day, and yeah, I'm going to send you the link as soon as it's done, as it's launched. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Bye. Bye-bye.